Hello. So today we are going to attempt to lift an ice cube with a string out of a glass of cold water. So for this experiment, we're going to need a piece of thread, a salt shaker with salt, a glass of cold water, and ice cube. So to start this experiment, first I want you to make a prediction. What will happen when we try to lift the ice cube out of the water without getting under the cube? So you'll write down your prediction or make your prediction. All right, so the procedure. I just got this water out of the fridge, so it is refrigerator cold water. I'm going to take one of these ice cubes, put it right in the water. Next, we're going to lay the string right over the ice cube so that it is touching the ice cube. And then we're going to take our salt and we're going to sprinkle it on the ice cube, particularly right over the string. Now I have my timer. I just started it, and we're going to let it go for close to a minute. And while we're waiting for that minute, you can kind of think in your head, what's happening? What do you think's going to happen? Why did we use the ice? Why did we use the salt over the ice? We're at 25 seconds. We're going to keep it going. Me personally, my prediction is I do think that we are going to be able to lift it out of the water. But we'll just have to see. The other thing to think about is the time. I know it says about a minute, but could time play a role in whether or not we can lift this ice out of the water with the string without going underneath the ice cube? All right, so it has been 1 minute. So I'm going to stop my timer there. And I'm going to gently lift up to make sure the string is still on top of the ice cube. So I'm going to gently lift. And there you have it. So I successfully lifted the ice cube without going underneath the ice cube itself. So now that this activity is complete, I want you to think about what does salt do to the ice on the road in the wintertime? Also, what temperature does ice melt? What do you think salt does to the melting point of ice? What must the melted ice above the string do in order to lift the ice cube without actually going underneath the ice cube? And then where else do we find this principle of lowering the melting point of ice applied to in daily life? As far as the explanation or the science behind this experiment particularly just demonstrates the melting and freezing properties of water. The freezing point of water and the melting point of ice under normal conditions is 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius. As soon as we placed this ice cube in the glass of water, two things started happening. The ice started melting into the water and the water started to freeze. So that those two things started happening simultaneously. When we sprinkle the salt onto the ice cube, the state of equilibrium is disrupted. Therefore, those salt molecules that we sprinkled on top, they dissolve and they join with the water molecules, which then change the rate of freezing. So to answer that first question, it's going to speed up the rate of freezing, meaning that it's going to melt faster. So therefore, the rate of melting is now much faster than freezing, which causes the ice to melt. However, to restore the equilibrium, the water's freezing point drops causing the ice to freeze out of the salt water. So the ice then refreezes around the string. And in most simple terms, when you sprinkle the salt over the ice, it dissolves in a thin layer of water above the ice. And therefore, on top of that, the water refreezes. Therefore, it basically, the string is stuck in between the freezing of the ice. So that's why you're able to lift it up. And another thing that you do at home, or another, thing to think about that you may have done previously in another science experiment, is when you're making ice cream at home. The crushed ice and the salt are mixed to lower the temperature below the freezing point of water. So to go back to the questions, what does salt do to the ice on the road in the wintertime? It keeps them from freezing over when there's bad weather, ice or snow. Temperature, or the ice melts at 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius. What do you think salt does to the melting point of ice? It speeds it up, which makes it melt faster. What must the melted ice above the string do in order to lift the cue? It has to refreeze. And then where else do we find the principle of lowering the melting point of ice applied to in daily life? Making ice cream and melting snow and ice on the roads are two great examples. Thank you.